I usually stay out of these conversations, but with Caitlin Clark, I can't stay silent anymore.
When the greatest of all time speaks, the entire arena holds its breath. And this time, Michael Jordan wasn't just reflecting on his own legacy. He turned the spotlight on Caitlin Clark, the rising powerhouse who's redefining women's basketball with every shot she takes. In a moment that shocked the court and left Clark emotional, MJ delivered a powerful tribute that resonated far beyond the stage. But what exactly did he say that brought the crowd to its feet? Buckle up. This is one moment you don't want to miss. Michael Jordan and the rise of Caitlin Clark. When Michael Jordan takes a step into the public spotlight, especially when it comes to players outside the NBA, it's not routine. It's intentional. And when that rare spotlight lands on a WNBA rookie, people notice. Jordan has long kept his commentary on the women's game to a minimum, preferring to support from a distance while building his legacy in the men's league through ownership, branding, and global influence. But when he does speak, especially about a rising star like Caitlin Clark, it isn't just praise, it's a seismic shift in how greatness is understood. Clark is not just collecting stats, she's completely transforming the WNBA's presence. Her arrival has triggered record-breaking attendance figures and unprecedented television ratings. With the Indiana Fever, she's turned previously quiet matchups into sold-out events, with more than 1 million fans tuning in per game. Yet the significance of her rise isn't just in numbers, it's in the ripple effects. In cities where her games are regularly broadcast, youth basketball programs are booming. Camps are full. Girls are picking up basketballs not just to play, but to be seen, to be heard. That kind of impact echoes what Jordan once did on the men's side. Back in the 90s, he didn't just win games, he redefined what a basketball player could represent globally. And now, as his Jordan brand quietly builds partnerships with WNBA stars, there's a new layer to that legacy. The business side of his empire is evolving, aligning itself with the commercial potential and cultural relevance of elite women athletes. It's no longer about whether the women's game matters commercially. It's about how fast that value is accelerating, and Clark is at the center of that surge. So when Jordan publicly acknowledges someone like Clark, it's not accidental. His rare but powerful statements aren't just nods of approval. They're declarations that force both fans and brands to pay attention. His legacy brings a weight few others can match. And when he highlights someone, it becomes harder for the sports world to look away. It's a form of cultural transfer, something beyond endorsement, but not quite mentorship. Social media has only amplified that crossover energy. These days, recognition isn't confined to award stages or ESPN interviews. Platforms like Instagram and TikTok allow stars to interact in real time, to publicly support each other, and to build narratives that cross league lines and gender boundaries. It's in that environment that Jordan's recognition of Clark landed, not as a quiet gesture, but as a defining moment that spread like wildfire through digital space. Corporate brands have quickly caught on. Joint campaigns featuring male and female athletes aren't just about exposure, they're about synergy. A strategy that lets audiences imagine basketball greatness without limits. As more companies invest in this vision, veteran icons and emerging stars are being pulled into shared spotlight moments. Those moments create space for the past and future to intersect, where someone like Jordan can validate a force like Clark without saying much at all. And just when Jordan's words seemed unmatched, why did Larry Bird and Shaq suddenly step in with unexpected praise of their own? Stay tuned. When the greats can't look away from Caitlin Clark. Larry Bird, never known for grand public gestures or dramatic headlines, made a remark that landed heavier than it sounded. In his usual quiet tone, he admitted that last season, he found himself watching Iowa just as much as he watched Indiana State, his own alma mater, the place that launched his legendary journey in the late 90s. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't exaggerated, but for a player of Bird's stature, it said everything. Bird doesn't waste words, so when he puts Caitlin Clark on the same mental plane as the games that helped shape his career, people listen. What's more compelling is the kind of basketball Bird appreciates. He doesn't chase hype. He values the grind, the vision, the decision-making. And Clark's style mirrors those very things. Her long-range precision, quick instincts, and ability to control the pace echo the traits that once defined Bird himself. His comment wasn't just casual praise. It reflected a kind of admiration rooted in respect for how the game is supposed to be played. That subtle nod from Bird spoke volumes to those who understand how rare it is for women's basketball to break through the personal radar of old-school legends. Yet it wasn't long before Shaquille O'Neal, flamboyant, outspoken, and fiercely loyal, added his own unexpected voice to the growing list of greats, now paying close attention to Caitlin Clark. Shaq's journey to becoming a fan of Clark wasn't immediate. In the early days of her WNBA career, his allegiance had clearly leaned toward Angel Reese, a player he's publicly supported with consistency. But as Clark continued to dominate with poise, confidence, and game-altering skill, something shifted. It wasn't just the headlines or the hype. It was what he saw for himself. And when he finally addressed it, the switch in tone was undeniable. "Now I'm not Shaq, I'm a fan," he said, stripping back his larger-than-life persona for a moment of simple honesty. He didn't just call her good, he explained why. He talked about her playmaking, her ability to create opportunities, and how she improves everyone around her. He noted how her decisions weren't just flashy, but correct. Shaq has played with legends. He knows the difference between momentary excitement and sustained excellence. And in Clark, he saw the latter. What made his praise even more striking was how naturally it came despite his earlier stance. There was no hesitation. He acknowledged how television can distort a player's performance, but said Clark's game was even better in person. Her movement, her shot selection, her leadership, it all translated. Shaq wasn't interested in sound bites. He was genuinely impressed by her control, intelligence, and maturity on the floor, and he made it clear that what she's doing isn't ordinary. Recognition from figures like Bird and Shaq isn't just validation, it's a shift in how the game is being seen by those who've defined it. Their admiration doesn't come from sentiment. It comes from basketball logic, from years spent dissecting what makes players stand out at the highest level. And as the roar of legends still echoed around her, why did Team USA leave Caitlin Clark off the Olympic roster? Is there more to the story? Let's find out. When criticism fuels a comeback, Caitlin Clark's silent uprising. There's a certain silence that comes with being left out. Not the kind that echoes through an empty arena, but the kind that lingers in your chest when your name doesn't make the list. Caitlin Clark had felt pressure before, but being left off the US Olympic roster brought a different weight. It wasn't just about one tournament, it was the symbolic message that rattled fans and critics alike. For many, it was unthinkable. A player who had reignited interest in women's basketball, packed arenas, and boosted TV ratings now sidelined at the global stage. It didn't sit right. But not everyone viewed it as a disaster. Dwight Howard, a man whose NBA journey was filled with highs and bruises alike, saw it as a test, one that might turn out to be a blessing. "This should make her go harder in the gym," he said bluntly, offering no sugar-coated sympathy. It wasn't a dig, but a challenge. Howard wasn't minimizing her pain. He was pointing toward what lay beyond it. He'd seen it before. Athletes who get snubbed often find a way to make the world regret it. He expected nothing less from Caitlin. And maybe, just maybe, that exclusion gave Caitlin the one thing she hadn't had in a long time: space. Without the chaos of an Olympic schedule, without the scrutiny of every possession magnified on the world stage, she found time to recalibrate. Her absence from Paris allowed her to sharpen her edges in peace. While the cameras turned elsewhere, she stayed in the gym. Her fire wasn't for show, it was for herself. The fans didn't see every extra drill or late-night film session, but it was happening, quietly, consistently. Elsewhere, former NBA guard Jeff Teague wasn't staying quiet. From his perspective, the WNBA had fumbled a golden opportunity. "They played this all wrong," he said, shaking his head. Teague had never been one for headlines, but when he spoke, his frustration came through clearly. The league hadn't just underutilized Caitlin, they'd alienated a wave of fans she brought with her. Games were suddenly selling out, merchandise was flying, social media numbers were up. And yet, her welcome had been anything but warm. Teague wasn't alone in his view. Hall of Famer Rick Barry added something sharper. To him, the physicality Caitlin faced wasn't just rough, it was personal. "It's reprehensible," he said of the repeated targeting. This wasn't the usual rookie treatment. And coming from Barry, a man who played when hard fouls were routine, that said everything. What disturbed him wasn't just the contact, it was the message from the top. If stars aren't protected, what kind of tone does that set? In those early months, every game she played carried extra weight. Every foul felt like a challenge. Every stare down, a warning. And yet, no theatrics, no angry interviews, just focus. She absorbed it all, quietly, professionally. Gradually, things began to shift. Her teammates stood taller. Rivals took note, even if they wouldn't admit it. The silence that once felt like rejection began to carry a different kind of tension. It no longer signaled doubt, it hinted at something building. Because now, this isn't just about packed arenas or record-breaking numbers. Caitlin Clark is becoming a force that the basketball world can't ignore. And as her game keeps doing the talking, the quiet respect from legends starts to feel less like whispers and more like prophecy. So what happens next? Stick around, as this story's just getting started. The fire they can't ignore. From the outside, it may seem like a seamless rise, but within the heart of it lies a growing storm. Jealousy, pressure, legacy, and expectation all converging on one player. And when someone like Michael Jordan speaks, the basketball universe listens. His words about Caitlin weren't casual praise. They were a torch passed. "She's got that fire," he said, "the kind that scares people," and said she's better than every player on the 2025 U.S. Olympic team. But Jordan wasn't referring to opponents on the scoreboard. He meant those who saw her success as a threat rather than inspiration. The way they target her, he noted, isn't about the game, it's about fear. Coming from the man who spent a career silencing doubters with every shot, his message was clear. Tune out the noise, stay focused, and let the game speak. That advice wasn't a pep talk, it was a blueprint. After all, Jordan knew exactly what it felt like to be picked apart, doubted, and turned into a symbol rather than a person. For him to recognize that same fire in Caitlin was a quiet confirmation that she belonged in the same rare air, and she's not just getting nods from the past, she's got the attention of the present too. Steph Curry, often compared to Caitlin for her dazzling range and quick release, sees more than a sharpshooter in her. "The shot gets the headlines," he said, "but the floor game, that's what makes her the real deal." Coming from a four-time NBA champion whose own career reshaped modern basketball, that's not flattery. It's recognition of a mirror image. Both showmen, both strategists, both revolutionaries in sneakers. Steph's admiration went public during a historic NBA versus WNBA three-point shootout, where he narrowly edged out Sabrina Ionescu. The idea of Caitlin stepping into that spotlight, perhaps challenging Steph himself, is no longer far-fetched. She's been asked. So far, she's declined. But she's open to it, and the basketball world is holding its breath for the day it happens. All of this only amplifies the question many are now asking in hushed tones or shouting from sports panels. Is Caitlin Clark carrying the WNBA? Look at the numbers. TV ratings that once hovered in the shadows are now lighting up primetime. Arenas that couldn't sell out a playoff game are filled to the rafters for a regular season matchup. Brands that never touched the league before are suddenly scrambling to sign deals. Private jets, national campaigns, viral highlight reels, all orbiting around the same gravitational pull, Caitlin Clark. Magic Johnson, no stranger to changing the course of basketball history, didn't hesitate. "She's done for the WNBA what Larry and I did for the NBA," he said. When he and Larry Bird entered the league, they didn't just play, they saved it. Now Clark's impact is being measured on the same scale. And while her peers may not have expected to be swept into this kind of spotlight, they're reaping its rewards too. Exposure, investment, better conditions, it's all tied to her. And yet the response from some inside the league has been lukewarm, even hostile. The criticism, the rough treatment, the cold shoulders, the undercurrent is hard to ignore. Is it competitiveness, insecurity, or something deeper? Whatever it is, it hasn't stopped her. If anything, it's pushed her further. For Caitlin, this isn't about being liked. It's about legacy. She's not asking to be the face of women's basketball. She just keeps becoming it. Every shot she takes, every court she steps onto, raises the stakes. And whether the league embraces it or resists it, the shift is already happening. The game is catching up to Caitlin Clark, and what happens next might just rewrite the playbook. Keep watching, because the legends are finally speaking. The weight of the moment. There's an old saying in basketball circles, "Game recognizes game." It's not just a catchy phrase, it's a measure of legacy, and Caitlin Clark is now standing in that rare space where legends start to take notice. Not long ago, she was just a college phenom, lighting up scoreboards and flooding social feeds with highlight after highlight. But what she's become since stepping into the professional arena is something far bigger. It's no longer about potential, it's about impact. And now, some of the most iconic names to ever play the game are publicly attaching their voices to hers. Shaquille O'Neal, Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky, names etched in gold across their sports, have all, in different ways, acknowledged Caitlin's fire. MJ, famously reserved with his praise, broke his silence not just to recognize her talent, but to call out the system around her. His statement, simple and pointed, echoed across the basketball world. The WNBA owes Caitlin a lot for what she's done for the game. Coming from a man who built a global empire out of performance, swagger, and sheer dominance, those words weren't just an endorsement, they were a command. He didn't stop there. He criticized officiating, the hits Clark has taken, and the quiet tolerance of it all. It's time the league makes things right. He wasn't asking, he was demanding. And yet, for all the fanfare, not everyone is clapping. There's a tension building, understated but visible. You can hear it in locker room interviews, see it in body language, read it between the lines of commentary from veterans of the women's game. Megan Rapinoe, no stranger to navigating the weight of expectation, offered a subtle but sharp perspective. Without naming names, her message was unmistakable. Pressure is part of the deal. Sometimes, she said, you just have to play through it. It wasn't bitterness, it was a reminder. Every generation has its battles. The spotlight comes with shadows. You want respect? Earn it every night. But what happens when you're already doing that? Because Caitlin isn't asking for sympathy. She's not ducking the questions or brushing off the hard fouls. She's showing up every game, every arena, every headline, breaking rookie records, reviving franchises, making basketball must-watch again in cities that haven't cared in years. She's not just handling the pressure. She's performing under it with a composure that players 10 years older sometimes lose. It's no longer just about her stat lines, even though they remain ridiculous. It's about how much space she's taking up in conversations that once had nothing to do with the WNBA. It's how she's changing the economics of the game. When Rachel Diaz said she moves the needle, she wasn't exaggerating. Caitlin Clark doesn't just sell jerseys, she shifts advertising budgets. Broadcast schedules bend around her. Analysts who rarely mentioned women's basketball now build entire segments around her presence. She is no longer an up-and-comer, she is the event. That kind of energy invites resistance. There's always an undercurrent of discomfort when someone rewrites the rules this quickly. But that doesn't mean the moment isn't real. Legends are watching. Steph Curry dissected her shooting mechanics on national TV. Gretzky praised her leadership and poise. These aren't casual compliments. They're validations from the top of the mountain. When Wayne Gretzky, the great one himself, steps outside the boundaries of hockey to publicly acknowledge a basketball rookie, it's not flattery. It's a signal that something rare is happening. And still, Caitlin hasn't asked for any of it. No grand pronouncements, no media spats, no self-celebration, just basketball. She leads with her game and lets the rest of the world catch up. The hard fouls, she gets back up. The loaded questions, she answers them with grace. The pushback from within the league, she keeps playing. At times, it feels like the entire weight of the sport has been handed to her, and instead of crumbling beneath it, she's balancing it effortlessly on her shoulders. Even in the face of challenges that go far beyond what any rookie should deal with, questionable officiating, whispered resentment, the scrutiny of every move, she carries herself with a rare calm, a kind of inner rhythm that says, "You can hit me, doubt me, watch me, but you won't stop me." That's not just talent, that's presence. And presence is what turns players into icons. She's not waiting for the game to catch up to her. She's dragging it forward. The cheers, the criticism, the records, the resistance, it's all part of the same current now. A movement driven not just by her shot, but by the energy she brings, the conversations she sparks, and the silent promise that she's not close to finished. Caitlin Clark is no longer just part of the story, she's the thread holding it together. But what do you think it means when Michael Jordan, Gretzky, and Curry all rally behind a rookie WNBA star? We'd like to hear your take. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more.